Okay, so we're going to change things up a little bit now, and we're going to talk about esports. And I've got a great panel here to talk about esports and what's happening here locally in Scotland. So I'm going to get them to introduce themselves. I'll come over to Adam first.
Yes, I'm Adam Phillips. I work for Corsair. We're a tier 1 gaming PC manufacturer. So we manufacture everything that's inside of a high-end PC.
I'm Anik Myriam. I'm from the Vizrt French office, as you can hear it probably. And I'm actually a system engineer, so I mainly install, configure, demo, train people on our graphic solutions. And that's it.
I'm Laura Louch. I'm curriculum project lead at Dundee and Angus College. So we are the first educational provider to launch a formal qualification in esports. So I was part of that and the creation of our new esports studios at our Gardyne campus.
Right, and Michael?
I'm Michael O'Dell. I'm Director of Gaming and Esports at Scan Computers. I've been in esports for 25 years. If I can believe that.
Wow, it's been going that long.
It wasn't called esports when I started.
Talk us through then, Michael, a little bit about the current trends in esports industry and how you think they're shaping the future.
So for me, I've seen there's a lot of big tournaments around. When I say big, the players now are competing for millions of dollars in prize money. The tournaments are held like I went last week. I went to Wembley Arena and saw a big tournament there. I think for me, esports is not just competing at those kind of tournaments. It goes into obviously the education sector, it goes into the military, it goes into social society, down to community centres and all sorts of levels. So to see from where I came from to where it is now, it's kind of mind-blowing of where it's still going to go and how big it's going to get. So there's so much opportunity for everybody around it at the moment.
Excellent. And Adam, from a Corsair perspective?
Yeah, pretty much like Michael said, it's exploded really, and it has so many different levels where you've got your competitive side, but we've seen a lot in the education and the transferable skills that can be taken from an esports course, which isn't just about playing games. It helps lots of different demographics, from your social care all the way through to high-end gamers, really.
Excellent. And Myriam, can you talk about esports from a broadcast angle, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, broadcast became more and more important in the esports in general. And it's like, just to give you an example, I'm a gamer myself. I used to be a huge gamer and stream myself. So I was like, okay, how can I make the best content out of it? My gaming skill is not that great, but I can be fun in French. Trust me about that. So I was like, how can I make it more interactive? How can I make it like more, visible to the audience that is following me? And the idea was to just, integrate some graphics, some visual storytelling into it. So this is how broadcast basically can affect, the whole esports and how to make, your esports display more interactive. Yeah, it could be like very scalable from small streamer in the room to like very big competitions and tournaments where you could like just introduce, just AR, VR. You could have like some in-game stats, 2D stats and so yeah.
Excellent. And Laura, in terms of education, some of those new trends that you're seeing, are they being built into the curriculum?
Yeah, so we created our new degree course from scratch. It was really important for us to make sure that they had that practical, hands-on, technical knowledge. We did a lot of research when we were developing it, and that was most of the feedback that we'd found from existing courses, was the students found that they couldn't actually apply the knowledge in a real environment. So it was really important for us to bring in the broadcasting element or the practical element and to have a place to set up tournaments and take part in tournaments as well. The course that we've developed, the objective all along was to make pathways and make it more accessible to get people involved. So esports is very much still on the rise in Scotland, and because there's so many deprived areas and barriers with schools, a big part of our curriculum was just opening doors for people to come and experience it and take part in it. So there's still a long way to go.
Excellent. And obviously, esports, it's quite different here being in a broadcast show. Michael, how has broadcast and the integration of broadcast really brought on esports and the esports community, would you say?
I still think there's a long way to go for it in a good way. I've been around a long time, so back early 2000s when broadcasting it over the internet was really hard to do, and trying to watch other people play games was almost impossible. So watching Sky come in and DirecTV in 2007 to try and do a global league, broadcast it on mainstream television, they didn't get it right, so that died. Watching Twitch TV appeared, which kind of changed everything around like the viewership. The viewership went through the roof, millions of people watching everything you did, every single tournament around the world. I think now still mainstream broadcast media are still trying to catch up with esports and gaming on how to put it onto their normal terrestrial channels. They still haven't worked out how to do that. So once that does happen and esports is normal and you flick a channel and esports is there and you know what it is just by looking at it, that's still to come. So there's loads more cool stuff to come.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Adam, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think your mainstream broadcasters like Sky are catching on. They are aware of it. As Michael alluded to earlier on, they tried it. The Formula One side of things and the esports in Formula One is a driving point where people are interested in Formula One, and it's a very easy crossover. Formula One is a tangible esports event to get into to become an actual driver. Believe it or not, there are drivers out there that started in esports, and it's a very broadcastable content. So there is interest. Once that gets sorted, I think we'll be good to go. Sky, BT, and all those guys are really sniffing around at the moment. They can see the potential, so it will explode at one point.
You talk about them sniffing around. Are there any examples of any kind of broadcasters that have done it well?
No.
Not yet.
Not in my view, but I may be wrong. Everybody has their own view on it. I think it's going to take somebody to heavily invest into it. Now, Sky have invested in the past. I don't think they were guided in the right way. So no, not at the moment.
Michael?
I think the best one I remember was BBC Three broadcast League of Legends Worlds in 2015, and they did a whole series of broadcasts around the tournament, but they also did a lot around the storytelling, which was great because it was like stories about the players, where they came from, how they got to where they got. So that was the last one, to be honest, that I can remember. I think because Twitch, YouTube are way ahead of like being able for people to switch them on and watch them wherever they are on whatever device they're holding. I think that's where they're still struggling.
I think a key point is when esports becomes a sport and accredited as a sport, which is happening around the globe. Sweden have done it, Gibraltar have done it. So there are nations that are actually accrediting it as a sport. Then people can see that it's, you get live coverage of darts, you get live coverage of snooker. They're not your traditional sports as in fast-paced, things, sort of high-paying things. But, once that gets done, then you'll see more broadcasters look at it. BBC, for example, Children in Need, that's the best esports thing I've seen. Children in Need, they did a big section on esports in education. And it's not your traditional esports broadcast that you'd expect, but it was about what esports can bring to the community.
Myriam, coming to you, there are some unique challenges there, aren't there, in terms of incorporating traditional broadcast with esports and workflows there. Can you talk us through some of the technical side?
Yeah, there are. Well, actually, I was thinking about the fact that we already manage to provide very good content with the technologies we have, and provide very good shows with what we have already. I was thinking, you talked about League of Legends, that reminded me of this show in Japan where they had exactly like the whole setup with like four Vizrt engines that provide like AR. You also have the example of Let's Play Oceania that is actually running everything through NDI. Okay, so they are going wireless, and they have a TriCaster, a FlowX, and they can just provide a good storytelling about what they are showing. I think they are broadcasting like some Clash Royale tournament, also some Valorant tournament. So I think that technology-wise we're already there, and it's of course getting more and more there. And yeah, I think that we already have a good solid base that we can still make better. I'm thinking about, for example, the data integration, where, for example, we can still, for example, we did create actually, like we have the data center that allow us to get all the data from the games themselves and like just integrating them into graphics or into AR. So I think the technology is following, but we're good already. So yeah.
And there are no real big change in terms of those workflows that you have to use?
Well, of course they are. So, for example, this I'll give you an example. The major Rainbow Six major in Berlin was all SDI based, so it was all wired. We had Trio, Viz engine, and this is how we would provide the graphics. Now we could do everything through NDI, through like our own protocol that is like just IP based. So yeah, there is evolution, of course. Now it's just like easier, to provide content and to make content through these things. We've got like the TreeCaster that, for example, you could see in the booth of Digibox that allow you also to have different inputs, different outputs, add your own graphics from FlowX, for example, and not necessarily have to be all wired and be big in hardware.
Yeah, great, thank you. Laura, moving on into education, you talked about the courses that you've developed specifically for esports. Talk us a little bit about how esports is really changing that educational program and really seeing more students come into media and esports.
Yeah, so we created a brand new degree programme because of the demand from the industry. So there's an esports arena proposed to be built in Dundee. So we agreed to be an educational partner for that so that there was a pipeline of talent entering into that industry. And to be honest, it's just snowballed from there. The demand for our courses we've not witnessed demand like this for years. We have waiting lists for our degree programme. We've used our esports facilities and some of the esports courses to target other groups that are maybe disengaged with learning. And the gaming and the esports is a hook for them to learn about other digital skills and communication skills, team building skills. So we really worked hard to meet the demand of the industry. It was quite unusual for a college like us to create a course from scratch. We usually wait for an awarding body to create a course and then other colleges will deliver that. But we saw a gap in the market and we just worked with industry to create something ourselves, and it's working really well so far.
And some of those skills that you're teaching, they are transferable. So you come in and do the esports qualification and then they can potentially go into broadcast as well. Is that how you're seeing things work?
Yeah, it's about the esport and creative industry. So the broadcasting and media production element is a huge part of the course. They learn about the whole industry. So they do digital marketing, event management. We have our own broadcasting studio on campus. So they learn all the technical skills required for that. And to be honest, it's probably the most popular part of the course as well. It allows the students to be really creative and really get stuck in and learn something new because they've never had media production and broadcasting's never really been a huge part of any other curriculum. A lot of that was removed due to lack of demand. So it's something that's really starting to build up again.
Excellent. And SCAN is an organisation we see in the broadcast world. In terms of those transferable skills that are being taught, is that beneficial in terms of the broadcast industry, would you say?
Yeah, especially in esports. Like I've been around the last year, a lot of universities. I've been to a lot of big tournaments, and I've gone to a university and seen some of the students that are studying at those universities. Then I go to a tournament, and some of them are doing work experience at those universities. In esports, I've always said a lot about the aspirational factor of being a professional player, which is what I was, and that's what a lot of people wanted to be, professional players. But now I'm seeing the aspirational factor in universities of people that want to go on to do broadcasting and be directors and producers. There's one particular student that I met, which I saw him at a tournament doing a load of stuff, and I said to him, like, you're probably going to win an Emmy one day, and he looked at me like I was mad, but he probably will. He's got such drive to be the best at what he does. There's lots to come.
Right, and Corsair is enjoying seeing some of this talent come through?
Yeah, I mean, we look at when we look at hiring, to be fair, we it's not necessarily about the skill sets. It's about the drive, and that's what you get from esports for certain, and this course is, as Laura said, the esports element is the hook. It really is in education. It's the come and play something, come and do something you enjoy. Okay, and then when they come out of the other side, they all want to go, the majority want to come out the other side as a professional gamer. And Michael, I'll tell you that there's it's like being a footballer, a small percentage will achieve that, So it's supplying them with the skill sets to go out into the wider world and do that broadcast element, be that social marketing person, that social media person, do the event management side of things. They all come out of it with something different. And as an organisation like Corsair, that's what we look for. We look for that drive and that teamwork and those diverse skills. It's not necessarily about gaming for us, even though we're a gaming-led company. It's about what esports teaches on the rest of it, really.
Yeah, and Myriam, from your point of view, how would you try and create that seamless transition between media professionals and esports professionals?
I think that we're in the era of the internet, so every knowledge is accessible. I'm thinking about, for example, for our case in Vizrt, we've got the platform Viz University that is available, that is free to access. So I would guess like anyone who would like to know how to do some live production, how to use the TreeCaster, how to create their own graphics on FlowX or either in Vizrt could just go to these platforms. So I guess, now with, like how knowledge is just accessible, it's very easy to just transition from one to another. That's probably my answer for that.
Yeah, Michael, is there a transition from your traditional broadcast engineer coming into esports? What sort of transition is there to be made there, would you say?
I think they're very similar from my experience. I'm not technical at all. Like I always say, I'm normally on the other side of the camera. But the ones that I do talk to, again, it's the big aspirational factor, and they love using the tech, and the tech has just upgraded so much over the years on how esports is delivered. That's all I can say on that. Is that, again, aspiration. It's like drive.
Yeah, Laura, do you see anybody coming to you from the broadcast world looking for a top up in terms of esports education?
Yeah, we've spoke to a few people that have been involved more in sporting events that have seen the rise in esports and want to come in. We've had a lot of gaming organisations who want to get involved in the esports and broadcasting side of things and have been speaking to us about upskilling from a business side of things rather than from the student learner perspective. And just hiring out our facilities on campus as well and be able to do live content creation and other aspects that are incorporated with that.
Excellent. And I was saying to you earlier, I've seen esports being introduced into facilities in London in terms of those pieces of education. Where do you see things going in the future? Esports is fairly new. Where are we heading to, would you say?
I think there'll be a lot more tournaments in Scotland. There's a lot of organisations talking about expanding that area. There's not really anything on the go just now. There's a lot more collegiate tournaments planned in the very near future, and hopefully they'll be in our esports studios as well. We're hoping to be the main host in Scotland and make use of our facilities. From an educational point of view, I think our objective has always been about opening doors for people and providing opportunities. So my kind of next mission at Dundee and Angus College is to go down the more rural route and open doors to the schools that don't even have Wi-Fi, they don't have access to anything. So we're planning to do a lot of outreach to kind of reach those areas that probably don't even know anything about esports and have a chance to work on the equipment and then bring them into college when they're ready to come on a learning pathway.
Exciting stuff, exciting. Adam, from a Corsair perspective, where do you see the future of esports going?
Well, from a competitive point of view, I see it being recognised as a sport more regularly. I see it being included into the Olympics. It was trialled at the Commonwealth Games. There's some things esports need to get right before that's going to happen. When it comes to governing bodies and all the things that a pro athlete will do, like your drug testing and all these sort of things, it needs to be thought about properly. But that's where it'll end up. It'll end up as a competitive sport, and there'll be bigger arenas, there'll be bigger competitions. There are massive competitions now. People are always amazed when they see a picture of an esports event, and it's like I don't know, some massive pop stars playing an event, but actually it's an esports tournament, and they go, really? Is that really? So more of that will come. From an educational point of view, I'd like to see it more and more into the universities. It's very well grounded in college level. Schools, the budgets aren't there really for schools, and the curriculum isn't there. The academic value isn't there at the moment. But there are schools that are working on it. The colleges are safe, well established. It's the universities that need to step their game up. There are kids that are coming out of the colleges looking for the next step. Well, what is that next step? They want to go on and further that esports journey, that broadcast journey, whatever, with that esports element. What is it? It's very weak, a very weak offering at the moment. So that's where I'd like to see those guys stepping up. But that, that's what I think the future holds for esports.
Yeah, and hopefully more talking like this just to get the word out there about how.
Yeah, I mean, people look at esports and think esports is playing games. It's more than that, much more than that.
Excellent. And Myriam, from a Vizrt point of view, where do you see the future of esports going?
Hopefully, like you said, I would like to see the esports in the Olympics at some point. I hope, we had this in Paris actually, but we're getting there. I think, as you can see, this esport is getting as big as sports with time. We can see that it's getting more inclusive, that it's also including some same schematic as the sports, with the bettings, and all of these are getting more and more introduced to the esports world. So I'm really hoping to see it as shining and raining as the sports industry. Also, as you say, now the esports teams are getting more and more hyped. I'm thinking about this French esports team called K-Corp that just announced that they just bought their first stadium in the middle of Paris. So it's already a crazy announcement, just to say that we have a team, it's a League of Legends team, and they have their own stadium. That's quite impressive, and I think we're heading there slowly and hopefully. So yeah.
Hopefully you'll have that gold medal at the Olympics for France when we get there.
Hope so.
Michael, final word to you in terms of future of esports.
So the future of esports, I'd like it to be accepted. It's 50 years ago, people didn't have mobile phones. Now everyone's got one in their pocket. I just want it to be accepted. But with the Olympics, a couple of days ago, the IOC actually announced that they're voting in France this month if they will be doing an Olympic esports tournament. So that's going to happen, and then that will be an official Olympic thing. So that's actually happening. I'd like to have a channel on TV or channels where I can flick on whatever tournament's coming up. But I think we're almost there in terms of the tech, especially. So I walked around the back of Wembley Arena the other day looking at the broadcast, and it's like a TV studio. And I've been quite a few TV studios, but the technology that's now actually broadcasting the tournaments, it's there. The tech's always going to be evolving, and it's always going to be needed. And again, that's what you said. The storytelling is the main thing around esports and how players got to where they are, and then all the education. I always do talks to universities, and I always end on saying, I point at the class and I say, I've been in esports 25 years. It's you guys that are going to go make the next bit and fix it for me, and I'm watching. That's all I say to them.
Great thing to end.
So I'm very positive on where it's going and where we are.
And we've got the education there now to support it.
That's key. It's really key. Everything will come from education into esports, and then that'll fan out.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing esports with us. The guys will stick around. If you've got any questions, please do approach them, and thank you.
Thank you.